Hello, my name is Charles Webster Baer, and today is December 20th, 2008, and I'm in Bend, Oregon, USA, and I want to talk about gig. Gig is global internet government, uh, and that's what gig is. Um, Gig is an idea that I got for a website in the year 2000 when I was in Portland. And it's an idea for a website that will monitor every financial transaction of every government on the planet. And this is called media speculation, and it's called freedom of speech. And basically what gig will do is gig will have a chat room for every city on the planet. And a city is a place where there are over 10,000 permanent residents. And anybody can post anything on any chat room. Yeah, any gig chat room, and that you can't be censored or banned, or your post can't be changed or altered or deleted, even by the person who posts it. And there will be gig moderators in the chat room, and the bigger the city, the more levels the chat room. And gig moderators will read everybody's posts, and the posts that they find relevant and accurate, they'll bump up a few levels. And posts that they find irrelevant or inaccurate, they'll bump down a few levels. Now, everybody who's a member of gig can post in the international chat room and the chat room of the city that they want, but they can only chat in one city and the international chat room and the chat room for their country. So that's 3. And then if they want, they can make a second, third membership and then chat in 9 different chat rooms, or whatever they want. So that's gig. Now, gig has an agenda, and as gig improves and gets larger and grows and evolves, gig will use its influence to push the gig agenda. Now, the gig agenda is just simply 2 things, and only 2 things. The first thing is freedom of speech online. Every human being has the right to post whatever they want on the internet. That is the first part of the gig agenda. The second part of the gig agenda is women's rights. Gig feels that every female on the planet Earth has the right to total and free access to all forms of birth control, including abortion. That's the second part of the gig agenda. So the gig agenda has 2 parts. The first part is freedom of speech online for everybody, and the second part is women's rights. And that's it. That's the gig agenda. Now, governments that don't support the gig agenda completely and legally and financially and culturally, governments that don't support the gig agenda are illegitimate governments, and illegitimate governments will be replaced by legitimate governments, and gig will assist this and facilitate this. Yeah. Now, basically, nations that want to participate in gig will just like nations that want to participate in the European Union will apply for membership to GIG and vote on whether the citizens want membership to GIG, and stuff like that. The GIG will work very similar to the way the European Union has worked. Countries that want to be part of it are allowed to apply for membership, and if they're given membership, then they have to follow certain rules, and GIG will have those rules too. And those rules will be: you got to have less than 3% inflation, you can't be in debt as a country, you can't have over 7% unemployment, these things. And then of course nations will exceed these limits, and then there'll be penalties for exceeding those limits, and blah 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 blah. Just that's the way it'll run. GIG will run as an international European economic community. And GIG will have two main branches. One branch will be Chisel, which will help facilitate and organize GIG on an international level. Chisel will work very closely with the United Nations and the International Monetary Fund, because GIG will be replacing the United Nations and the International Monetary Fund. In fact, the person who is the president of the earth right now is the leader of the United Nations, but he's not elected by the people. So in the future, the person who's the president of the earth will be elected. Like the president of the earth is getting elected on GIG right now, because GIG is holding, elections for the president of the earth. So you can vote if you want for anybody. I won the last election, so I'm running for re-election. So vote for me, Charles Webster Baer, for president of the earth. All you have to do is go to globalinternetgovernment.com or charleswebsterbaer.com, and there's a bunch of different chat rooms there, and you just have to click on the chat room and say, I'm making my vote for president of the earth, and my vote is this person or thing or whatever, and then that's your vote. I think the next official election for president of earth is December 1st, 2009. So that's Chisel. So there's GIG, and GIG has Chisel, and GIG has WMON. And WMON is World Internet Monitoring Organization Nation. And what WMON does is it ranks and rates all the gigs out there and says these gigs are the best, and these gigs aren't very good, and these gigs are middle of the road. And it does that because GIG, every December 30th, submits its predictions for the following year for the amount, every country, how much money is going into it and how much money is coming out of it. And then those predictions are submitted by every GIG on December 30th for the following year, and then graded by WMON a year later. And that's how WMON keeps track of all the gigs. So right now you're on charleswebsterbaer.com, and there's a bunch of different chat rooms you can click. Just click chat and say whatever you want, talk about whatever you want, post your own videos, and I think there might be a football game on pretty soon. Adios.